Rob and Gary, thank you so much for jumping on the show because this is a topic I have not yet touched on in almost 500 episodes now. Psilocybin, mushrooms, how they can help the average person, the entrepreneur, the driver, the mom, the person struggling with PTSD, the military guy, the ex-military guy, all facets of life. I have heard stories connected to psilocybin. And audience, ladies, everybody listening, we're going to break this all down. We're going to break it all down for you because I have questions too. So I wanted to bring on Rob and Gary, experts in this field of magic mushrooms, and have an open discussion because it hasn't been done yet on the show. And I want to learn as well. So, Rob, Gary, I'm going to start off with just kind of my story, and we'll use that as a springboard to start talking. I have heard about psilocybin for years now. And really, the first time I ever heard about it was from a Navy SEAL friend of mine who, this is many, many years ago, was going to go down to Mexico to do a psilocybin journey because he had heard and read about how much it helps with PTSD. And I remember he came back for that and he said, life changing. He said it was absolutely life changing. So I'm like, this is really interesting, right? I couldn't even tell you how many years ago this was 5, 6, 7, I don't even know. Then you start hearing colleagues of mine, people in the biohacking space, people in the health space, other entrepreneurs doing guided psilocybin journeys. And they start saying like how they had these amazing epiphanies and their business is growing and the relationships are better. Their anxiety, depression, gone. Like forget about antidepressants, forget about talk therapy. And some of them have been like, we've been there, done that. That shit didn't work. But I did a psilocybin journey one time. Gone. Gone. No more anxiety, no more depression, no more OCD. So it's been intriguing me, obviously, for a very long time. And I've always thought about how could this benefit the perimenopausal, menopausal woman? How could this benefit somebody that's struggling with depression because their thyroid is low and their hormones are low? Or could it? So that's why, this just kind of setting the scene here. That's why I'm so excited to have you guys on to really dive into all of this information.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
done.
So, right, based on that, where do we start? Where do we start?
Yeah, where do
Okay.
you start?
So let's start with what the heck is psilocybin for the person out there that is like, what is she talking about? So let's start there. What is psilocybin? How did it become kind of come into being of being a treatment?
Mhm. Totally. So psilocybin, what is it? It's a mushroom that grows in the forest. What does it do in nature? It decomposes that which is no longer necessary and redistributes that energy out into the forest so that it's used for the next phase of growth.
Okay, I see where you're going to connect this here. Okay.
And humans, we are, for your listeners, if you're listening to this, you have ears, you have hands, you have feet, you have a body. It is nature. It's
Mhm.
come from nature. You eat carrots, you eat chicken, steak, whatever you like eat. You're eating nature to become nature. And the mushrooms have been used for thousands and thousands of years in ceremony.
Mhm.
And specifically, there's a big part of culture that's been removed, whereby we have these things called graduations from kindergarten or elementary school, high school graduation, and they're very, for the most part, superficial graduations. There's another form of graduation or initiations, not hazing, an initiation whereby if we actually bring this back into our culture in a professional, responsible, integrous way, we can have initiations that people go through and every 5-ish years, maybe only once in their life, to actually process that which is no longer necessary in their lives. We have traumas and dramas that have been ensued upon us,
Mhm.
and no one has shown us how to actually let go of yesteryear's baggage so that we can move forward with clarity of mind, body, and soul.
Well, I think that's the goal of everybody, right? And that's why people go into talk therapy. That's why people use antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications and supplements to calm their mind because we've all dealt with some kind of trauma in our life. I don't really think, if you're my audience listening, you're a 40, 50, 60-year-old woman, you haven't gone unscathed. And if you have, I mean, kudos, right? But we've all had, I think it's safe to say we've all had some form of trauma. And searching for the answers of how to move past it, how to not let it affect our day to day is hard because there's a lot of information out there. So I want to move next into at what point, like I told you the story of my Navy SEAL friend, at that point in time when he was going down to Mexico, I had no idea. There wasn't the micro dosing for better performance during the day talk. I mean, this was all new. And it was kind of like ibogaine, psilocybin, and I couldn't even tell you what else came out around the same time. I would always get all of them mixed up, but now I understand a little bit more the differences. How did it come to be? How did it go from, and I'm assuming when you say it started with a ceremony, that's more a different culture, maybe a long time ago. So how did it go from ceremony to now in our society being integrated in with all of us who have had trauma?
We can speak about the trauma that we all carry throughout our lives. As Robert says, the mushroom decompose, which no longer serves.
Mhm.
We as humans like to carry our baggage everywhere we like to go. We love to tell the story about what's happened in our past, and we don't know, in the ceremony bit, we don't know how to let it go.
Yeah.
With the work using psilocybin or other plant medicine, there's the ability to recognize the story that you're telling everybody else and yourself. It's like the broken record. It's on repeat over and over again. And the needles put a groove in the record and it's going really deep. How do we get the needle out of the LP? Is you recognizing it, stopping the record, taking it off the player, breaking it, put a new vinyl on, and then start recording what you want to be or who you want to think or be moving forward in your life. So
Hmm.
it's learning how to let go of the garbage that some of those stories that it's just no longer serving. It's hurting us more than anything else. And it's like you would have to ask, how is this serving me or how is it serving you to tell the story of X, Y, and Z? It's not. We have the little thing about we assist you releasing the baggage by taking it to the curb. You put it in a bag, garbage man comes around, collects it, throws it in the back, drives away. But we hold on to you so you don't go running after your trash anymore.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's essentially what people are doing when they go
Yeah.
from therapist to therapist is they are running after their trash. Ooh, that one didn't work. So let me go to this one and start the story all over again and relive that trauma all over again so that it can ruin my day and ruin consecutive days. So I totally understand that.
Yeah, it gets stuck in our neurophysiology. So the mental, emotional, and the physical, as well as the spiritual bodies. But it mainly gets stuck in the mental, emotional, and the physical bodies. And as a consequence of coming through an actual guided ceremony, a guided journey, it's it's like an internal cleansing of your neurobiology, of the mental body, of the emotional body, and you get to step into a deeply caring, trusting environment where you're tended to in such a way that you can go deeply within self and unpack the old luggage that's been weighing you down. And you get to, without talking, you get to just close your eyes. Is it challenging? Yes. Are there going to be tears? Yes. Is it going to be confronting? Yes. But when you get through the other side and you've had someone care for you through that whole entire process, it's there's a levity, there's a lightness to the being. It's like, wow, like why didn't someone show me how to do this when I was 20? And
Mhm.
now that I'm 60 and I've got aches and pains, and then as a result of a journey, people come out the other side and the pain is gone. Heart rate decreases, depression is alleviated, grief is alleviated. What human on the planet isn't dealing with grief? There's always people leaving our lives in some way, shape, or fashion. So it's the mental, emotional baggage that we're holding stores, holds, constricts the physicality, and then with an actual guided journey, it's like an unfurling of all of that, unpacking that so that you have less tension in your body. You have less tension in your mind. You're less likely to react. And you give yourself a hot minute to actually respond to what's happening around you. So it's beautiful just to see people come in. They walk in our door, one person, and they walk out the true person that they've known themselves to always be.
And that's what I keep hearing. That is the experience that I keep hearing from people. And I'm going to circle back to everything that you just said there when we talk more about what people can expect before, during, and after the journey. But I want to step back to something you said earlier, and it just reminds me of things that we hear about trauma. There's even a book called The Body Keeps the Score, where that trauma that we've been through, and really, all right, wait, let me take a step back. Let's define trauma, because
Mm.
I think too often that word is used and people immediately think something big. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, I don't have any trauma. Like, you don't really? Okay, so you've never lost anyone in your life, just like you said, grief. You've never had, an event happen, been in a car accident. Define, I'll leave it to you guys. Define trauma so people can really get in tune with what they may have pushed aside. No, I'm not stressed. That's not trauma. I'm good.
Mhm. Yeah, there is such a grand bandwidth of trauma. And one of the examples that we sometimes give is you went to go reach for a cookie when you were 5 and grandma slapped your hand. And as a consequence, you stopped reaching for things in your life and people, oh, well, that's just normal. This is the dysfunction in my life that I have created, and I'm in this grand loop where nothing has changed. I'm in the same job, same income level, all of the things are the same, and then people are like, I don't understand what you're talking about. It's like that one incident, very tiny, and then there are things that we don't even remember happened that you were in diapers at 1 and you peed on the floor or something, and then someone yelled at you. That's stored in your physiology.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other end of the scale, maybe you went to war and there are people, someone had a gun in your face, or you saw atrocities. So small t trauma, big T trauma, yes and yes. However, there's there's so much that happens to us on a daily basis that creates stress. So did you have a piece that you want to
No,
say
I
there?
just recall a memory of my father when he ran to reach to sort of hit me or push me aside. Just that action gives you, I recall that flinching action as a child and growing up is like, always afraid of something quick coming beside me. And I would like be in a sort of shock. It's like, I
Hmm.
just recall that when you were mentioning that. It's like that's stored trauma that does come up once in a while. So it's idea we've had trauma, as Robert said, small t, big T. Birth can be traumatic too. You may not remember the process, but energetically your body is going through a traumatic experience coming into the real world.
Yeah. Yeah. And going one step further, health issues.
Mhm.
So let's take my area, the thyroid. I've heard for so long, and I mean, even if we roll back in time 20, 30 years ago, I started my career doing body work, and I would learn from my mentors, listen, you might be working on someone's lower back or psoas, and they might start crying because trauma is stored in our tissues. Something like the thyroid, just like you said earlier, you stop speaking up, or you don't ask for anything anymore because grandma slapped your hand when you reached for the cookie. So you don't reach for anything in life anymore. You keep quiet. You don't express yourself. Can that, I guess my big question is, okay, we know that can be that health issues, thyroid issues could be tied to an event that occurred where you became quiet, you held your voice, you closed everything down in here. With all of that being said, someone doesn't have to remember what it was. Like, you don't have to remember, oh, that's right, it was grandma that slapped my hand. You don't have to recall what that trauma was to get away from it and release it. Does that make sense?
Totally, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
You're right where the body does remember. I'm an Alexander technique teacher, been teaching since 2005, but been with the program since like 1986.
Mhm.
And I remember being on the table with the teacher and just beginning to cry. And the teacher was just there, not questioning what the crying was about. As long as you're able to release it and let go and move on, you're creating a healthier space environment for your body to breathe and fully function.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you do not have to, if going through a psilocybin journey, you do not have to remember in order to get the benefits.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had clients come in with big T trauma, like complex PTSD, and they come through and they're actually potentially fearful of like, well, what if this comes up? And it's like, well, what if it does? The worst thing you're going to do is probably cry for 5 hours. And that's the extent of it. And it may be like traumatic for yourself to like relive it. But the thing is, there's going to be a releasing process that happens. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the medicine knows. The magic mushroom, the psilocybin, knows what you need to let go of. It might not come up at all.
Okay.
And then if it does, you may not remember anything. You may just go into some other aspect of exactly what Gary said, just releasing, crying,
Yeah.
processing, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, like my knee pain just released or something, and now my throat feels better. Like there's so like we're all connected.
Hmm.
And when we start to really sense into, like a lot of people come through our journeys and it's like, wow, this is not what I expected. I've used mushrooms before, and this was like a really embodied experience. And I got to explore my whole physical being, and I recognized that I had tension in my ankles. And then it unfurled and opened up my shoulders. And then I started to communicate what I truly wanted in life. And I stopped letting other people, like there's a client I'm thinking of right now, she's coming through our preparation and she's like, I've been the little goody two shoes my whole entire life because I just let everyone else dictate what I should want.
Wow.
And as a function, she is lit on fire. We're only 3 weeks into the prep, and she is like, I'm done with that. I'm going to step into this world of like the heck with what everyone in my culture thinks I should have in my life. The dog, the cat, the goldfish, the husband, the 2.5 children.
Right.
Where's the other five?
Yeah. So all of that, she just stepped into this freedom of like, I'm the one that gets to say what I truly want. What if I just want to be happy and have fun from it the rest of my life? Period. Full stop.
Perfect.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like
That's
permission
great.
slip granted to express what you truly want.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Gosh, I have so many questions around the prep. I have so many questions around everything you just said. Before we go there, I need to ask this one. It's not just for people who need to release something, who need to expand their personality, who need to get out from under being perfect for everybody else, like that woman, or like the SEAL or the military guy. It's also for entrepreneurs and
Mhm.
people who want to expand their vision and expand who they are. That's the other subset of people that I spoke with. And one woman in particular, she's a good friend of mine who runs a killer supplement company. And she went on a journey and did it the right way. We'll get into that set and setting. But she came out the other side, and the transformation that she had from that journey that was very personal ended up propelling her business. It's almost like she came out and dealt with the personal stuff and then was like, now I see so clearly what I need to do. I need to move this person over here, and that person's no longer should be not with the company anymore. And we need to be doing this over here. And it's like, boom, instant growth. Where I was like, girl, you just dealt with all your shit over here and now your company's growing? Like, how does that work? So, can you expand on for those people who, and that would be me? I mean, yes, like I said earlier, of course, we all have trauma. Yes, yes, yes. But there's nothing like as I'm sitting here with you today, I can't say, like, gee, I really feel held back because of this or this experience gets in the way. But I would love to grow the business. I would love
Mhm.
to be a better businesswoman. I would love to be a better entrepreneur. How do I get what she's having? Like I'll have what she's having. Thanks.
Hmm. Yeah, we could talk about that for hours. However, I know we have a short amount of time. With a journey, it's like we're jokingly dubbed professional shit shifters
Yeah.
in that we help people deal with where you're at, know where you're going, and allow the medicine to actually show you what's next. It may come through, it may not. But again, the intelligence of nature knows. And if you just allow yourself to dream bigger, and if you have that vision, then it's with us, it's like we help you collect all these data points or a cloud of data that supports you in the preparation. So it's around you. It supports you in the preparation, the immersive experience, and afterwards. So you're pouring yourself into something. So it's not just, you're not just coming to experience something, you are growing into something. And when you have that bigger vision, again, the medicine knows it'll direct you. It'll direct you to, hey, this is what you need to work with. For instance, I'm thinking of someone right now, he was like, I'm not an angry person, but I had a lot of anger stored in my stomach. And funny enough, I had stomach issues. And then as a function of that, the medicine tells them you need to lead with love. So he's in the integration phase right now, and he's like, I have no idea what that is, but it's new. And I'm going to nurture that. I'm going to be with that. I'm going to ask it questions of, okay, what does that look like today? How can I support people? And I'm not talking about hippy dippy, cushy, like love,
Right.
soft and cuddly. This can be fiercely compassionate, holding people's feet to the fire to say, I believe in you. I know you can grow. So I'm here to help you as an individual grow to the nth degree so that you can be in your genius. So
Mhm.
it's once someone discovers their deep genius within self, then it transfers out into their companies, into their visionary reality.
Wow, that's so impactful. Okay, so now let's move into you mentioned the preparation phase. And this is something else that I have heard from everyone that when you are planning on doing a journey, and let's separate this out because there's a lot of people that will just get psilocybin and do it at home.
Mhm.
And that's where you start to hear some bad experiences. And I think that is what scares people away as well. Like, oh, I don't. And I think a lot of people, myself included, when I first heard of this, we're thinking about the days of acid tripping. It's like, oh, I don't want a bad trip. Like, I don't want to start to see like angry clowns with knives and I can't get out of it. Right. So, and I don't even know if that happens with psilocybin, but I'm just saying. So the preparation and the set and setting take me through the importance of doing a journey the right way and what that whole process looks like all the way to what you mentioned before as integration. And we'll explain to the audience what that means as well.
It's 4 weeks preparation before you come to the center in Kelowna. It is working on self, awareness of self, looking at awareness of our thoughts, our actions, and reactions to situations that are coming up. It's finding those moments going, oh, and learning how to stop. So you're preparing yourself to get into the journey in a human vessel that has a little house cleaning. And so we highly recommend that if you don't meditate, that you do meditate. But we are a believer meditation is anything that brings you to center focus of self. So that could be swimming, running, hiking, playing an instrument. It doesn't always have to be on a mat. So learning how to go into stillness is vitally important to prepare yourself for the journey. We look at your dietary needs, and all aspects of it. There's medication, but mostly it's preparing the mind, body, and spirit to arrive at the center in the best form possible.
Okay. That makes sense. Right. Because even from a body prep standpoint, if you're going to be taking in a very powerful medication, we'll call it, right? You want your body to be able to receive that. And if you're putting a bunch of junk in your body, even from a nutritional standpoint, not going to be the best reaction, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We say that you have to be ready, willing, and able. So you have to be ready to take the journey on. You have to be willing to be guided, and you have to be able to actually like learn from this experience. And like you already touched on it as well, that this is a transformative experience. It's not transformational. Transformative is from the inside out. So when you're in the journey with us, it's 4 full days. There's 2 ceremonies, 2 full days of integration. We're with you from the time you land to the time you go to bed.
Mhm.
It's in a luxurious boutique resort setting. It's like an executive home.
Mhm.
And you'll go into 2 ceremonies. And what does that look like for your listeners who may not have any context? You're laying in a beautiful, comfortable environment. And we don't dance, we don't chant. There's no
No war paint, no headdress.
Right. No, not a lot of woo stuff. Right.
if you want that, that's fine.
There's
But
plenty of, yeah.
so we play music through iTunes that we select for each and every individual that's with us.
Mhm.
And you're laying down and you're basically looking on the inside. So it's like you're presented a number of different television screens and you get to watch each of those shows that are being shown to you so you can learn. And we often say, lean, learn. So let go of whatever you need to, lean into anything that shows up so that you can learn. And and that's why we're there because we're guiding you through this experience so that you can learn from. And that's how much you can take from one journey. So we believe it's of utmost importance that there's a professional with you
Mhm.
that is going to care for you in a safe, trusted environment so that you can actually get the most out of that one experience. And then afterwards, once you reluctantly leave, because most people want to stay and live with Rob and Gary forever,
Uh-huh.
The different package.
they're also most people are really like they're super excited to get back out into their life because they've been given so much. There's so
Mhm.
much intel that's been delivered that it's like, oh, I wonder what this is going to look like in my life and how do I integrate and implement. So the intel is to be implemented into your life. It's not just, oh, I had this wonderful experience and I'm gonna go on a journey every 2 weeks. No. With us, it's most people come every 3 to 4 years. And then there's another subset that was like, I think I have enough for the rest of my life. And there's another subset that may be coming like once a year. But
Okay.
most people recognize this cadence of, okay, I've been given this intel, and now I'm going to go back out into my life and truly integrate and implement this into my life. So I'm creating with it. It wants to move into creation in my life love and my business.
So, do people ever have a bad trip? I mean, I know the importance of having someone there to guide you, but do
Mhm.
you ever have somebody come out just like, get me out of here? This is horrible. Or does that not happen with psilocybin?
When you're guided in a professional way, the worst thing that can happen is that you are going to cry. Do some people want to, like, they'll come through the first ceremony and they'll be like, wow, that was the one person said that was the most horrible, wonderful experience I've ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then her second ceremony was the most wonderful, horrible experience she's ever had. But she was willing
To stay in
to
it.
stay in it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the commitment to self is high. And might there be anger? Might there be frustration? Might there be rage? Might there be disappointment, sorrow, grief, despair come up to and through you? Yes. But that's why we're there to help you move with it and help you process it. So even for ourselves, some of the most challenging journeys that we've been through have been the most beautiful to learn from.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to hear some of those stories because I think that will help people as well. It's hard to wrap your mind around. And if listeners have not known someone to go through a journey or heard any of these stories, it's really, really difficult to believe that a one-time experience or doing two journeys over 4 days is enough to release them of work that they might have been doing with a therapist for decades and have not
Mhm.
been able to move past it and not be able to change. One story that I'll share, and then I'll hand it over to you. This is not a person I know, it's a friend of a friend telling me the story of how this man went on a psilocybin journey. And the before was this man was angry. He was damn near impossible to deal with at home and at work. And really to the point where he was going to get divorced and probably lose his job based on that anger that was in him. I think there were some OCD tendencies too. And the story I heard was literally this man walks back in the door after his journey, a different man. I know you guys have said that already. Like you could be a different person, like a completely changed, different man. Didn't take antidepressants, didn't take years of talk therapy, didn't take a bunch of books and podcasts. He went on this journey, came back, and everyone was like, are you sure that's the same guy? Like, let's give it a couple days, see if he reverts back, right? And he didn't. And he saved his marriage and he saved his job. And everyone around him was like, we love being around this dude now. I mean, and it's hard to wrap your mind around that and believe that it's possible. So I want to hear some more stories.
Well, we can go from I'll tell my personal story why what had changed. My mother lived with us for about 3.5 years, and sadly she passed away. And we talk about grief and trauma. So grief set in for both of us. I had never experienced that heavy of a grief, and I thought there was enough in my toolkit for both of us to work through it and move through it. Depression was coming in and anxiety that I've never experienced. It was like, what is this? We always say this beautiful lady came into our life and introduced us to magic mushrooms and suggested that perhaps we go on a journey with her medicine man. And Robert was the first one to go. We always say he was the guinea pig. It was like, you go do it. I don't need these mushrooms. So when he came home, it's like the guy came in the door different. Robert came in the door different. Depression was gone. Grief had been released. He was joyful, content, had focus and purpose in his life. And I'm going, mushrooms can do this. And he go, yeah. So I said, looks like I'm giving the medicine man a call. So I spoke to him, arranged a time and date, and it happened to be my birthday. And I always say it was the best birthday present that one could ever give oneself. Uh, Went in with no expectations, just to release the grief and depression. Came out on the other side is like, whoa, this is amazing. I feel so much better. I feel stronger, healthier, and purpose in my life.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Wow, that's amazing.
And yeah, and that's us going on the journeys led us to like creating the Journeyman Collective. And like there's so many stories of clients who have like the story that you were just sharing with us about the individual who was cranky and angry and explosive. People come to and through a journey with us and they're like, I don't know what this feeling is. I haven't experienced it in my life, but I think it's peace. I think it's contentment. And there's a dentist that we worked with many years ago, and like dentistry apparently is like one of the most stressful like industries to be in. It has a super high suicide rate. And I remember him sitting in the corner after his journey. He was like, I am so content and so happy. And I don't think I've ever felt like this in my whole entire life. And that's where we teach people that's a touchstone moment. If you can remember back into that feeling, that sensorial experience, that's how you can carry it forward and that's how you can embody and that's how you can be it. The only way that you can feel it in a journey is if it's already there within you. It's just been locked up by all the traumas, the dramas, the stories, life happening. And yeah, there's just so many stories of people coming through and getting like expanding their resilience of being able to deal with stress, which every human does. What is stress? It's change.
Oh,
And yeah, there's just so many stories about people taking a right turn, but it's always for the better. And it's like I'm thinking of another individual. He came out of the journey and he was like, I came in to know who I am, and I came out the other side, and it was the phrase that he uses was Neil, meet Neil.
oh,
And he met himself, and then he goes home and shares the stories to a lot of the people about his journey, and he was like, yeah, we already kind of knew this about you, but it wasn't out in front. It was buried by the masks, by the garbage stories that we've been telling ourselves. So there's this newfound freedom of expression that people find that's always been there. Everything that, like, it's the good old adage, like, everything's within you.
yeah.
And then people find it and then they start to co-create with it. And then all of a sudden it carries forward into their lives. So that's where it becomes sustainable when you're committed to it.
And, I mean, there's so many people dealing with anxiety and depression. And I have said to a few of my patients, listen, I've not done a journey, but I think at this point, when I hear you, we have your hormones balanced, we have your thyroid optimized, we have you on nutritional supplements to support everything. You've done the talk therapy. I really hate to put you back on the antidepressant. So maybe you might want to consider this. I
Hmm.
don't, I've never heard a downside. Are there any contraindications, or we'll say people that you would not recommend do a journey?
Hmm.
I think everyone should experience one journey in their life. And then the other part is if someone has bipolar tendencies or has been diagnosed as bipolar, schizophrenic, that's not our lane at all. That's more clinical. I'm not sure. I'm certain that people actually I've even heard stories where different individuals were diagnosed and then went and worked with medicine men and came out the other side and no longer diagnosed as schizophrenic or bipolar. So that's a whole nother lane that we're not entirely familiar with.
Mhm.
Um, but for the most part, I think there's probably like 99.5% of humanity that should experience, and I know I just used the word
Yeah.
should have the audacity and the bravery to go and explore what's within. And I would even add as well that for your clients who may still have that anxiety, chances are there's something that's been simmering underneath the surface that wants to come out into creation that it's been on the back burner for a while and they don't know how to move it forward. And it's like this idea that they've always had that anxiety is basically your stifling energy of creation that wants to move through you. And no one's giving you the giant permission slip to say, go create it.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Now, what about addictions? Does it work with releasing people from various addictions?
Mhm. Alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, any form of addiction, it can help with.
Because essentially people are using that for the dopamine
Yeah.
aspect. And when you move through and realize that that search for dopamine is essentially to cover up something that you're not dealing with,
Mm.
that would make sense. That'd be an easy connection. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
it's also segueing that into like, okay, there is this addiction. You've worked on self, you've processed what was at the core of that. And now, so that you don't fall back into that groove in the record, how are you serving people? What's really calling you to be of service to others? And typically, once people connect into self, the addiction or any traumas or dramas have been cleared out of the way. There's clarity of self. There's a deeper connection to self. Then there's deeper connection in relationships. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I actually want to make a contribution to humanity. And this is what it looks like.
Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely. Now, before we move into where people can find you and do a journey for themselves, what about the legalities? You guys are in British Columbia. And I
Correct.
know in the United States, I've heard so many mixed things like, oh, you can go to Oregon, but it's not really legal anywhere else. That's why my friend went to Mexico. So what are and with the pending new administration, or with the new administration that is in place right now, I remember when listening to Rogan's podcast with was it with Trump or was it with Vance? It might have been with JD Vance. And he flat out said, like, okay, what about the legalization of psilocybin? What are you thinking? And I mean, JD didn't know. He's like, I am not familiar with this at all, but we'll see. We'll work on it. What do you see? First of all, what are the legalities? And then
Mhm.
what do you see? And I know you guys are in Canada, but still, even in the United States with this new administration, possibly opening up the legalities of psilocybin and different plant medicine in the United States, as well as opening people's minds to it.
Mhm.
Our typical answer, it's a mushroom that grows in the forest, and God created it and put it on the planet for us to use.
Well, I agree with you totally. Yeah, no, I agree. It should be legal.
It's a
But
gray
where
area.
are we right now?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally. It's a gray area. We give
Okay.
it no
Mhm.
energy. Is like I had just thought this the other day, is like if you went to a rave, how many substances are in that one building? And are the police really going to come and arrest everybody for those illegal substances?
Mhm.
No. So we believe there's no concern. And if that is a concern to our clients, then perhaps this is not the process they need to come through.
True.
Mhm. And
That is true.
then with respect to like federal legalization
Mhm.
in Canada or the US, a lot of people are going to have to be properly trained in how to truly guide someone. There's this nomenclature in psychedelics where you can become a sitter via online training. If that's the case, then look elsewhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
you need like with us, you're coming into an environment where like Gary has 40 plus years of mind body conscious awareness training. I've got 25 plus years of mind body conscious awareness training. And then with our team, you're being supported usually with a 1-to-1 ratio. You're being supported by like 120 plus years of like deep inner work that no matter what comes up, and I'm thinking of a client, the woman who said this is the most beautiful, horrible experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
She processed a lot during that experience, and we could hold our center and know like we've so got you. And that's the look I gave her too when she opened her eyes. I'll always remember it. And she was like, "Oof, I was so glad to see you," and just that. So a
Yeah.
lot of training, professional, proper training is going to have to take place um, in order for this to truly work.
No, totally makes sense. And that's so true for anything that we do, right? I mean, whether
Mhm.
it's fixing your thyroid and hormones
Yeah.
or going on a journey, right? You want to be working with someone who has been there, done that, and has the training and has the experience. And you don't want to go, just like I tell my people, you don't want to go to the corner store puppy mill hormone clinic that doesn't test you and just gives you all the hormones you want. You don't want to go on a journey where you're just throwing some mushrooms and like, hey, good luck. We'll see you in 5 hours. Like that's bad. That is bad. And that is where I believe people have had, we'll say bad experiences, bad trips, however you want to call it, that it just was not done properly. Was not done properly.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we are with our people every step of the way.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Okay, so tell people where they can find you and where they might find me if they come as well to do a journey.
We'll see you in the summer.
That's right. See you in the summer.
But your listeners can find us on the web, www.thejourneymen, MEN collective, one whole word, .com. We're on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook.
Beautiful. We'll put all that in the show notes. But guys, thank you so much for your time today and for breaking this all down for myself and for the listeners. I've been very, very curious, very open-minded to it, and definitely want to experience it. Like you said, everyone should experience a journey just once, one time in their life. And if it does something amazing and life-changing, oh my God, right? It was totally worth it. If it does not so much and a little bit of a shift, still totally worth it. Because any shift that we can get to move past our trauma and to be a better person and be able to handle the stressors of the world that are coming at us daily, why not?
Yeah,
Who doesn't want that, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much for your time today. I love talking with you
you.
guys.
Thank
And
you. It's been a
we'll see you in
pleasure.
the summer.
You
Okay.
bet.
Okay.
Definitely.